All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Tuesday, July 16th. I'm John Weigell here with Katherine Laidlaw, and you're listening to the Hustle Daily Show. Trend forecasters have dubbed 2024 the year of denim, considering the astonishingly high demand for the fabric this year. One business that's not feeling the love in their jeans, though, is the highly unexpected Levi Strauss. The brand is synonymous with denim, but for some reason, it's not having the projected success you'd think in the, quote, the year of denim. So, with their stock down and a lukewarm earnings report, what's the real reason Levi's is lagging behind? We'll chat about that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. Starting us off, Macy's is ending negotiations on a $6.6 billion buyout with Arc House Management and Brigade Capital Management that we reported on some time ago, citing the, quote, lack of certainty over financing. Yes, there's a lot of lack of certainty in Macy's future, unfortunately. Next, Google's parent Alphabet is reportedly in talks to acquire Wiz, a cybersecurity startup, for $23 billion. If it occurs, it will be Alphabet's biggest acquisition to date, and they just love throwing money out there. Over to Nestle. Nestle opened an experiential Nespresso store in Austin, Texas this month, with more locations planned in 2024 and 2025. The concept includes classes, tastings, a coffee bar and lounge, and a focus on sustainability. I wonder about that last part. But Katherine, what do you think about this push by Nespresso?
I was just thinking the exact same thing. I am very curious to see what a focus on sustainability for a disposable product ends up looking like.
Yeah, I really wonder. Have you used the Nespresso pods before? I've never used them, but I had a roommate that had them, and they were really fancy looking, but disposable.
I've only used them when traveling, I want to say. You know, like if you're staying in a hotel and they have the machines that they're compatible with in the hotel rooms. I'm way too much of a Luddite to have that kind of thing at home. It's not because of being environmentally attuned. It's too complicated for me.
Next up, entire continent's GDPs look like not that much to Blackrock, which hit a staggering new record in assets managed last quarter, and that's $10.65 trillion, the biggest number that I've ever read. The thick-walleted firm added $1.22 trillion in assets over the last year. Who can stop them? And finally, Taylor Swift broke her own 11-week record with the Tortured Poets Department album, entering its 12th week at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart. The album has 3 billion streams and just shy of 5 million sales in the U.S. Eventually, those streams are going to hit that Blackrock revenue number. Katherine, what do you think about this latest Taylor Swift news?
I mean, hopefully this means the poet's a little less tortured, like she's raking it in, right? It's funny, I'm a devoted Swiftie. Now, this is on the record as me saying that publicly. I follow a bunch of Swift fan sort of meme accounts or accounts of sightings and fashion and things like that. And every time a record like this gets broken, they publish a little Instagram image, and it's always the album cover over and over and over again because she has all the records. Like she's just beating herself in all of these categories over and over. She's just so much her own ecosystem now. It's pretty fascinating to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is also another kind of reaffirmation of her claim to the throne, I guess, of pop culture and pop music, because, you know, a lot of popularity lately has been given to artists like Sabrina Carpenter or Chappelle Roan, but it seems like Taylor Swift is really the giant still in the business today.
And isn't it wild that she's in her mid-30s, Beyonce would be in her maybe late 30s, and they're sort of the elder stateswomen of the current pop landscape? Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. The amount that they've accomplished in such little time, right?
Yeah, it kind of blows my mind. I have to remind myself that they're younger than I am.
I know. All right, on to the main story today. When you think jeans, you probably think about Levi's. Now that 2024 is the year of denim, you'd think Levi's is pulling in cash by the handful, but they're not exactly profiting hugely off this perceived fashion boom that we're experiencing. So, Katherine, can you tell me first about this denim renaissance that's happening right now?
Yeah. So trend forecasters have crowned 2024 the year of denim. This partly due to emerging from the pandemic. As consumers sort of came out of COVID, they were casting about for some slightly more refined options than sort of lockdown era athleisure, leggings, sweatpants. Google searches actually for denim hit a 20-year high earlier this year. And you've seen denim skirts come back into fashion, dresses, ultra wide leg jeans, the sort of like really loose baggy look has come back. I thought we left it in the 90s. We did not. And so there's been sort of a fun fashion surge on the denim front this year.
Yeah, if I've learned anything in fashion is that it continuously recycles. Every 20 to 30 years, everything that wasn't cool is cool. So my advice, just like keep all your clothes all the time. But Levi stands out a lot in this statistic because they aren't exactly reaping the benefits of this whole boom. Obviously, they're not doing horribly, but how are they doing right now?
Yeah, so in June, Levi's reported better earnings than analysts expected for Q2, but many analysts had expected even higher sales. They reported 1.44 billion, which is nothing to sniff at, but before their earnings call, which was on June 26th, the stock price had been rising and rising for several months. And since the report, shares have fallen 17%. So that's substantial and definitely sort of underplayed analysts' expectations.
What did they exactly attribute those results to? Is there anything that can indicate why that they've received such a downturn in their stock, considering that they did better than expected, but I guess it just wasn't better than expected enough?
Yeah, it wasn't better than expected. I don't know.
Right.
Exactly. So the company has come out and given a couple of reasons for this. One is that they had disappointing sales from Dockers, which I actually didn't know was a Levi brand, but a little more buttoned up. The US dollar hurting was also something that they attributed, and sales in China were lagging. And so the CFO sort of pointed to all three of those reasons as reasons why they made the first initial mark, but maybe missed the bigger mark that they were hoping for. But speculation outside of the company has pointed to a couple of other reasons. One being that when denim sort of becomes high fashion again, Levi's isn't a company that you think of as being sort of on the forefront of trends necessarily, right? It's a bit of a mainstay of American culture in that way. And I was thinking about how counterintuitive that is, that denim can be your bread and butter, but you're actually not really considered like one of the purveyors of cool denim. Therefore, you don't reap the benefits when denim becomes cool again.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like Levi's has been such a consistent brand for so long that they have to keep doing what they're doing and at the same time try to innovate, but there are always going to be like disruptors that enter the space. I mean, I consider the similarity to the business of running shoes with a company like Nike being that giant, but then another company like a Hoka or like On Running, like completely unseating them with just a more innovative spin and a new product, and it's new and it's flashy and exciting. And then the old thing is like just kind of hanging out there, still an attractive brand, but at the same time, it's just not able to innovate in the same speed as some of these new companies probably.
Right. It takes on the label of being like steady and reliable rather than cutting edge and trendy and novel to new consumers. And I think both can be good, but one clearly wins the day in a moment like this that denim is having over just sort of a regular consumer buying cycle.
Right. It's not really sucking up a lot of those trendy dollars. So we have this Washington Post article that kind of dove into Levi's position in the denim industry. And there was also kind of another reason that Levi's isn't exactly doing as well as they should be or could be doing. And that seems to lie with traditional sales methods of just in-person shopping.
Yes, totally. And Levi's as a company has historically depended on stores like Macy's and Nordstrom, the more department store model. But as you mentioned earlier in the show, some of those companies, Macy's, are struggling. And so Levi's has had to prioritize its own stores and really sort of beef up its own website to remain competitive. You know, I think all across the wholesale market, analysts are saying that there are certain retailers that are just ordering products a little bit more cautiously. And so as a result, Levi's has had to really push to a more direct-to-consumer model to remain in the game.
It seems like from that they made quite a good decision. They started doing this about 2 years ago, really like beefing up their like actual just Levi's storefronts and e-commerce businesses. So they're not doing badly, I think, is the ultimate thing here. It's just that they're not exactly able to capitalize on big trends like this when they happen and benefit the way that you think they would.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a matter of we're not seeing the progress yet, because one thing that I did think was interesting from the Washington Post report was that direct-to-consumer push has actually garnered an 8% increase in DTC revenue, and so it's working. And then another note on the sort of trendy front is that actually 50% of the company's bottoms assortment are made up of sort of baggier styles, which isn't what I think of when I think of the traditional Levi's like 501 sort of go-to, like a slim fit, straight leg pair of jeans. The sales bumps for things like denim skirts and dresses have seen triple digit increases. And so the numbers are promising. I think that they just fell short of the maybe overly optimistic speculation that analysts had.
Yeah. And, department stores may be kind of hitting a decline phase, but as we've seen, like Abercrombie & Fitch is doing very well. They tripled in value over the past year. American Eagle is up 60% in terms of their shares. So these brands, at least going direct to consumer, seems to be the route that a lot of them are going. And I guess Levi's is finally, as a few years ago, taking up on that as well.
Yes, definitely. And one thing I was reading about earlier was that Gen Z is a little more hesitant to buy a pair of jeans from a company like Levi's, in part because they're not sort of spending $100 on a pair of jeans anymore, the way that maybe 20 years ago we would have had a bit more expendable income to do. But additionally, it's also because you see Levi's all over the place at thrift stores because their quality is so good that it really stands the test of time. Mm-hmm. And so why would you buy a pair of jeans from a Levi's store for $100 that's new when you could buy a gently used broken in pair for $1 at a thrift store in another neighborhood,
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I actually don't know whether American Eagle and Abercrombie are facing the same challenges.
Yeah, traditionally, American Eagle and Abercrombie, they do offer lower price points generally, with American Eagle jeans going as low as $30, Abercrombie jeans going as low as about $40-ish, $30 to $40. And Levi's, the lowest, maybe about $60 to $70. So there is quite an increase there. It is inflation times. We're all trying to not spend so much money. So it kind of does make sense that these brands are doing a bit better in their affordability. And yeah, to your point earlier, why go to a Levi's store and buy jeans for $80 when you can go to a thrift store and buy Levi's jeans for maybe $10?
Which is counterintuitive. Like, only here would quality work against you.
Right? Somehow.
In how many other industries can you say, well, we are kingmakers of this particular fabric that happens to be wildly in style right now, but it's actually not working in our favor because our products are too good.
What a wild world we live in. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us today, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we'll see you tomorrow.